The time has come to build what I hope is a more technically advanced forge. Welcome back to Black Bear Forge. Now, I don't desperately need a new forge, but I always like to try new things out, see if something works better than something else. And 3 months ago, Cypressville Forge sent me this wonderful ribbon burner that he had made so that I could try a ribbon burner forge. Now, this should be a little better than the typical aspirated gas forge. One of the things that makes a ribbon burner such a good forge is it has a row of holes across this ceramic block. This is the ribbon burner itself, and that makes for a much more gentle flame, a much more even flame, more even heat. These are ideal if you're doing pattern welded steel or Damascus steel, as people like to refer to it. Now, this particular burner is 10 inches long, 5 inches tall, 3 inches thick, and has 26 holes in it, a 2-inch pipe inlet at the top for both the gas and the air supply. And the ribbon burner is one that requires a blower, so this has to have electricity. This doesn't really work if you're in a non-electric shop. And for about 15 years of my blacksmithing career, I didn't have regular power in the shop. I had very limited power. 1 or 2 things is all I could run. So a forge that needed electricity to run it simply wasn't an option. But in this shop, I have okay power. I've got a 100 amp service. That's plenty to run the small blower that I will need for the ribbon burner forge. So besides the ribbon burner, what else do I need for a forge? Well, one thing I'm going to need is a forge body. One is an old pressure tank. That's something that goes with a domestic water system that takes water from the well. The pump pressurizes the pressure tank, and that provides an even water pressure for the house without running the pump all the time. It's a fairly big tank, and I don't think I want to go with it. The other one is a little air compressor tank. It's about 14 inches in diameter, and that's a pretty good size, but I think it's way too long, so I'm going to have to cut it down. But either of these tanks is probably heavy enough to be a decent forge shell. But there really isn't any reason for you to make a forge any bigger than I need. That just takes more gas, harder to heat up, takes longer to heat up, and that may overpower what this burner is capable of. So I'm going to keep it at a fairly reasonable size. And the other thing I'm going to need is an electric blower, and I have this little blower from Blacksmith's Depot. They sell these specifically for gas forges. Compared to what I see on some other people's forges, this may be overkill, so I'm going to try it out. If it's too much blower, I'll switch it out for something smaller. But this is only a 2.6 amp blower, so I have plenty of power to run something like this in the shop. Today I'm just introducing this project. I'm letting you know that I'm going to be starting on it. Some of you have been waiting for this project, asking about it, like to see forge builds. I'm not going to get real into details on this because I've never made a ribbon burner. I'll tell you what I'm doing, but I don't know that everything I'm doing is perfect. We won't know that until I finish the forge. So you're going to have to stick around. You're going to have to watch the other videos, see what I do, see how it works when it's done, and then make adjustments if you're trying to build your own forge. While I'm doing this, I will try to include links to other people's videos on forges. I'll put those up here in this left-hand corner. And hopefully there will be some good information in some of those other videos. There isn't as much on ribbon burners out there as I would like, but there is enough to pretty well guide you through what you're doing. But at this point, the first thing I have to do is cut that red tank down to size because it is way too big. And I'm going to use the Chili Forge as sort of a size pattern. The Chili Forge has been a great forge. I really have very few complaints about it other than it is just so hot to work around, especially this time of year when it's pushing 90 degrees outside. It easily gets to 100 degrees in the shop while I'm running that forge, and that can be really brutal on a long day's work. So I'm hoping this forge isn't quite as hot to be around. People say they're quieter, say that they don't use as much gas. We'll see about all that when we're done. And hopefully over the next month or so, we will get this forge finished, we will get it up and running, and hopefully it will be hot enough that we can do some wrought iron work, because a gas forge that will weld wrought iron would really be sweet. But for now, I'm going to get to work cutting that tank up and see if I can make something that I can use out of it. And the Chili Forge is about 14 inches wide and 16 inches long. Before I get too serious about this entire forge build, I know some people up in the Denver area that have built ribbon burner forges, and I'm hoping to go up there early next week, visit one of them, take a look at their forge, get some dimensions, measurements, see how heavily insulated, what kind of hard refractory he used inside of it, see how it's all plumbed and how the blower and the gas jet and everything relates to get proper mixing of fuel. But for now, I'm going to get busy cutting that tank, see if I can get it cut down to the size I want. And I'm going to try an angle grinder with a cutoff disc, but it may be too thick and heavy for that, in which case I'll have to go to a cutting torch. And if I have to go to a cutting torch, there'll be a lot of grinding to clean it up. So we'll just see what happens, and I'll fill you in on more of that in the next video.